Porchetta is a delicious pork roll that's perfect to eat in sandwiches, but it's actually quite labor intensive to make. So in this video, I'm going to show you my version, which is actually quicker and simpler, but also full of flavor. Hello everyone, I'm Chef Sabrina. I teach you cooking and baking techniques through fun and delicious recipes like this one. So if you're into that, please consider subscribing and ring the bell. And let's get started. So porchetta is actually a pork roll that is traditional now all over Italy, but it's actually mainly traditional from the center of Italy where Tuscany is. And you find it in so many places as you walk along all the streets in Tuscany. And you find them in restaurants, you find them in butcher shops that they make their own porchetta. And people just sell them on the street, and like they cut it in slices and just put it in sandwiches and sell it to you, and you walk around with this amazing, delicious sandwich full of pork. So how it's actually done is you have a piece of pork belly, the pancetta, that you actually have filled with a lot of herbs like the ones I have here. And actually, depending on where you go in Italy and even within Tuscany, some herbs can change. However, rosemary is a must. But also you find thyme and sage and finocchietto, which is actually kind of like the fennel fronds. Rosemary, like I said, but it actually depends. And obviously you can pick the herbs that you want, so that it's your recipe now. So you can do whatever you want. And it's so they basically open the pancetta. They have a big piece of pancetta and they kind of cure it a little bit, maybe with some wine and some salt, let it rest. Then they add a lot of herbs. Okay, and then in the middle, they actually add a piece of pork loin. Now, when I make it, I actually like to also marinate or even brine that piece of pork loin, because otherwise it could get a little dry as you bake it, because we're gonna roast it in the oven. But then, so you have like a piece of pancetta and then a piece of pork loin in the middle, and then they just wrap the pork loin in the pancetta, and so you get like this roll up. It's like a huge pin-up roll, but of pork. Then they tie it, they score the skin or the fat, and then they roast it for hours until it's like super juicy and cooked all the way through, but not dry. Okay, so that's important. And then basically you just see this huge like piece of roll of pork, and they just slice it and, like I said, give it to you in sandwiches. So it is delicious, but yeah, it's a little bit labor intensive, especially if you're at home. Maybe you don't have enough counter space, or it can actually, in some places, it could be a little bit expensive to make. So, you know what? I decided to make my own porchetta, which is not a porchetta. I understand. Just like traditionalists, I know this is not a porchetta. I just explained the real one. But I want those flavors. Now, there's actually a reason why I came up with this recipe. And actually, let me show you, because if you follow me on Instagram, and if you don't, you should, you'll see that I received these amazing gifts the other day. And it was a huge box full of products from Zoe olive oil. And they are a company based in Canada, in Montreal. But it's a family-owned company, and their family owns land in Greece, and they produce their extra virgin olive oil in Greece. They bottle it there, and then they send it back to Canada. And also they produce balsamic vinegars in Modena, in Italy. So when I received these beautiful treats, I started to taste everything, and I was combining a few things to see if they went together. And suddenly, in a little container, I combined their extra virgin olive oil that says Tuscan herbs, and the balsamic vinegar that it's actually infused with apple. They have a bunch of infused olive oils and infused vinegars as well, which are delicious. And you know when you have something in the back of your head and then suddenly you taste something and that just like goes to the front and it just has like neon lights? Well, that's what happened to me when I combined those two ingredients, the olive oil with Tuscan herbs and the balsamic vinegar with apple. It just tasted like porchetta. It reminded me of the flavor of porchetta in Italy. And so I said, okay, I have to do this. But it's actually quite labor intensive, like I said, so I gotta simplify this. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. I'm gonna show you my version of a simple porchetta full of flavor, and we're actually going to accompany it with an apple and onion compote that is actually pickled. So it's like a pickled kind of sweet, savory compote that it's gonna be delicious for your sandwiches, or just wait until you try this, because this is also like perfect for the holidays as well, coming up later this year. Or, you know, like with mashed potatoes or roasted potatoes and that compote and just some veggies. That's it. Like, that's your menu. It's delicious. You're gonna love it. So just let me show you how it's done. Okay, so what I have here is actually a piece of pork loin, and it is 1.5 kilos, or like 3.5 pounds. And what I did was that I opened it up, but you can tell your butcher to do that. When you buy it, just tell them to open it up for you so that you have a long piece of pork loin now, because we're gonna stuff it with a bunch of herbs, just like porchetta. So I put it on a sheet tray with some aluminum foil. However, I'm eventually gonna just transfer it to my countertop. So make sure that when you do this, you have like this much countertop at least that you clean and you have ready, because honestly, doing it on a cutting board, it might like slide, or it's just uncomfortable, especially when you're gonna roll it up. So just clean countertop and then you clean it again. So in the meantime, because I gotta chop my herbs, I'm gonna first add some wine. All right. And what I did was actually I made some slits on the actual meat so that the wine gets in much better. All right. This is gonna flavor it really well all throughout. And this is why I have it now on a sheet tray. But then later I'm gonna transfer it to my cutting board, like I said, but I don't want the wine all over the place. All right. And this is about half a cup of wine, but as usual and as always, the recipe will be on my website, all right? And then the salt. Now I'm gonna add most of the salt now and some of the salt later, but I want the salt to start brining the meat, all right? So it's gonna release some juices, but it's actually gonna season it really, really well, because this is gonna be amazing. Some on the skin as well. And I'm just gonna leave some for later, and I'm gonna rub it. Okay, rub it, rub it, rub it, so that it starts seasoning the meat from the inside. All right, so now while this rests and brines a little bit, I'm just gonna go chop my herbs. Okay, so I have my herbs. I have rosemary, sage, and thyme. Not equal parts, because I think sage should be the sage should be a little bit less, because otherwise it's gonna overpower everything. But like I said, or like rosemary. Some people love rosemary, like my dad. Some people hate it. So it depends on your family. It depends on what you want to do. You're free to use the herbs that you'd like. Again, recipe on my website or through the link in my Instagram profile. The rest of the salt, okay, I'm gonna add to my herbs. All right, and also some black pepper, because we want to season everything as we go. Never season at the end, because otherwise the flavor or the seasoning will just be on the surface. You want to season from the beginning till the end. Everything should have flavor so that when you put it together, it tastes divine. All right, so I'm just gonna mix it with my hands really, really well. And first, the secret ingredient, right? One of the responsible ingredients or people for this recipe, the extra virgin olive oil infused with Tuscan herbs. Perfect for this, right? And the balsamic vinegar infused with apple, we're gonna use for the apple compote later on. Now, obviously, if you don't have this, or if you don't have an herb infused extra virgin olive oil, just use good quality extra virgin olive oil. Good quality extra virgin olive oil. Yes? Okay. No bad quality. Good ingredients make good food. Bad ingredients, doesn't matter what you do, it's never gonna be good. Doesn't matter if you're a magician. Remember, we're not magicians. So, good ingredients. I'm gonna add a little bit first, all right? Some of this delicious and beautiful extra virgin olive oil all throughout. Rub it really well. This is a happy, happy piece of pork, let me tell you. It's just like in a spa with some goodness. All right, we're gonna add a little bit more later. And now the herbs. So let's see if I can contain it here. But eventually when I wrap it, I'm just gonna put it on my surface, all right? So, all the herbs. Now we're gonna add a little bit more. Okay, so I put it this way, okay, like it's vertical facing me so that I can actually roll it and it's easier for me. And just make sure that the skin, okay, is actually further away from you than the beginning or like the meat. So, because that way you ensure that it's gonna be on top. All right, also I have twine and scissors and I already cut 3 little pieces because since I'm by myself, it's gonna be hard if I don't tie it first so that it holds together and then we'll tie it properly and these 3 pieces then can be cut at the end. All right, so, okay, here we go. And if you see that a lot of the herbs start to fall out, just put them back in. And ta-da! It's that simple. That simple. See, so the skin is actually on the outside. And now, this is when these come in handy. 1, 2, placing them a little bit spaced out on my table. 3, and now I'm gonna put this on top, maybe a little closer together. And closer together. It's not as long as I think. All right. Okay, so we have our roll, okay, badly tight now, or badly tied, I should say. And now we're gonna tie it properly. Now, I'm gonna make 1 single knot on one of the sides where I'm gonna start, okay? So I'm gonna make 1 loop, all right, tight. This is gonna reduce down so you can actually pull tighter than you think, all right? We wanna keep everything together as it cooks. So just pull really tight. Now we have 1 knot, all right, that's holding 1 edge. And now the way to tie this super easily, and you can do this with, this is a technique that can be done with any piece of meat really. You're gonna make a loop, all right? So I have my string here and you're gonna make a loop where the meat's gonna go. So I'm gonna pull the meat inside and then I'm gonna leave this one close to the one I just did, okay? So then I go and I make another loop and I keep going. Just moving the string now further and further away from that edge, now coming closer to me. Let me show you again. Make a loop and you tie it around and you pull. See, it starts to now come together. All right, so our pork loin is stuffed and wrapped and tight and it's not gonna go anywhere. And before I roast it in the oven, I'm gonna pat dry the surface, okay, especially the one on top, not so much the bottom. And honestly, if you can make this the day before, or if you have a couple of extra hours, this is amazing if you do it one day and then roast it the next day because all the flavors really get in the meat. But if you don't have the time, it's gonna be delicious anyway. Just a suggestion though. Pat it dry I'm gonna add a little bit more of our extra virgin olive oil infused with herbs. With one hand, I'm gonna rub it. And then with the other one, I'm gonna add some of their salt, coarse salt as well, all right? Now, in the meantime, while this roasts in the oven, let me show you how I made that onion and apple pickled, sweet, savory, delicious compote with that apple infused balsamic vinegar that you're gonna love, and it's gonna be the best accompaniment for this. So let me put this in the oven and let's get started with the compote. So our porchetta or stuffed pork loin is ready, and as you saw, I roasted it first at a higher temperature, about 420 or like 220 Celsius, and for 15 minutes, just to kind of like start the melting of the fat or the rendering of the fat and get it crispy or help it get crispy at the end. And then I lowered it to 375 Fahrenheit for 45 minutes. But I actually really encourage you to take the temperature at the end, because that will really determine when it's ready. Because if you have a bigger piece, it might take a little longer. If your piece is smaller, it might take a little bit less time. So, but the temperature is the temperature. So regardless of how long you leave it in, if the temperature inside is about 68 degrees Celsius, it's done. And one thing, like, people really freak out about like undercooking pork or not cooking it to a super high temperature. But the thing is that, think about it as a turkey. It's kind of the same, especially the loin or the tenderloin of the pork. They're really lean. And so they tend to dry out if you overcook them, right? So cooking them at a lower temperature will ensure that you get a juicier meat. And if you get your meat from a reputable source, like a good supermarket or a butcher that you know, just don't freak out. I mean, unless you live in a country where you know that it might not be safe, cooking it at a lower temperature is actually not bad. It will just give you a much juicier meat. I mean, people eat red steak, right? Like inside, like bloody, juicy. Not everybody, but a lot of people like it that way. Well, we're not gonna get any blood here, but we still want a juicy meat. And so I encourage you to, even your Thanksgiving turkey, to take it only to like 65 or 68 degrees Celsius. And also remember that by the time we take it out of the oven, as it rests, the residual heat will continue to cook the meat, and the temperature will actually go up by a few degrees after you take it out of the oven. So just stop it when it's like between 65 and 68, and I assure you that you're gonna have a super juicy but cooked through meat. All right, so I have here my pickled apple and onion compote that we're gonna taste now together with this. I have a little delicious bun. If we wanted to make a sandwich, it's right there, ready for us. We have a lot of juices on the bottom of our ramekins or baking dish. So don't throw those away, because they're perfect for like dunking the bread and then stuffing it with your meat. But first, we're gonna transfer it here. This has been resting for about half an hour after it came out of the oven. And so the first thing that we gotta do is cut all of these strings, right? Because we don't wanna eat string. And now it's time to cut and taste. So let's see, I'm gonna start from this side to make it a little even. Look at this beauty. Look. I just have to show you closer. I'm like a proud mama. Look at that. You can see it's juicy, right? And now I cannot wait. I have a fork and a knife there. I don't have time for the fork and knife. Oh my God. Let me grab a piece of paper. All right, now I'm gonna taste it with the compote. And you know what? You might think that because of the salt, it might get salty. Some people ask me that, oh, 2% salt, it might be a little bit too much. It's actually not. It's actually perfect, and you can have that as a rule of thumb, especially for meats like this. 2% salt is actually perfect. Amazing. The combination of the apples, I love apples and pork. Might be like the little German I have inside, but it is so good. And the pickled onions with the pickled apples, but it's like sweet and acidic, just cut any of the fat that you might feel from the pork. Even though everything is rendered so well, and you get like this super delicious, crispy and golden top. So, I mean, I really, really hope you make this at home because it is to die for. I just brought back my 2 superstar products here that I used and that helped make this so flavorful. If you start with good ingredients, you're gonna get good food. It's just that simple. So now that everybody is starting to gather again and getting together, don't wait for the holidays to celebrate because we all took for granted what we had, right? So get together with your family and friends, celebrate life, celebrate health, celebrate good food together with your loved ones. Just make something really nice, sit around the table, eat deliciously, drink deliciously, and enjoy life and health. To you, my friends, thank you so much for watching. As usual, let me know if there's anything else you'd like to learn or any techniques or recipes you'd like to tackle. I'm gonna keep eating this delicious thing. Maybe I'm gonna make myself a sandwich, and I will see you the next time.